So officially, let me welcome everybody. It's so good to see you all again, to see some familiar faces, a couple new faces. At this point, you probably kind of know the drill, but once again, my name's Aubrey Gallegos. I'm the programs manager for the Good Meat Project. And this is our final session of our four-part marketing series. So today we're going to be really kind of bringing together everything that we have covered over the last three sessions and get to the real meat of your marketing, which is connecting your marketing to sales. And our amazing instructor today is Michele Thorne, who you may know from session 2, and she's going to be leading us today. Just a couple quick housekeeping things. As you probably recall, we will take questions at the end, so feel free to drop any questions in the chat as we go, and we'll keep a list of those and make sure that we get to those at the end of the session. If you're able to take yourself or to turn your camera on, we always love being able to see faces and see who's here. It makes it feel real, even though we're virtual. Yeah, I think that's about it. So Michele, if you can go ahead and jump to the next screen. Perfect. So again, we are able to host this series thanks to an amazing partnership with Quivira Coalition. You may have heard this spiel before, but if you haven't, please please open up your ears because they have some amazing programs that, if you have not heard of them, will be of great interest to you. So I'm going to pass it off to Taylor to go ahead and do a quick intro for Quivira, and then we'll dive right into our topic.
Wonderful. Thank you, Aubrey. Yeah, we've been really enjoying this series. Honestly, personally, I've been very much enjoying this series. So thanks to everybody for coming today. If you've never heard of Quivira Coalition, this is our mission statement. So through education, innovation, and collaboration, we work in coalition with ranchers, farmers, government agencies, and land stewards to foster resilience on working lands. And we primarily operate in the Southwest. So we're located in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm in Colorado. We've got some employees in Montana. So if you're anywhere around that area, definitely plug into our resources. We are here to help you. Next slide. Perfect. So here's just a couple of our values as we do our work: holistic and regenerative land stewardship, the radical center, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and the viability of land-based solutions to the climate crisis. And then the program, we've got a couple fellows here today and participating in this series. We've got a lot of programs at Quivira going on right now. Within the new agrarian program, we have an apprenticeship, we have a Regen Ag fellowship, we have a manager fellowship, and then we've got a lot of other resources like a podcast, job board, and newsletter. So many ways to plug in, and we're excited to have some of our fellows here today. I'm going to pass it off to Nina to talk more about another program we offer.
Thanks, Taylor. My name's Nina Listro. I'm the director of Quivira's Carbon Ranch initiative. We, right now, our biggest project, which I think some of you have probably already heard about or maybe participate in, is our Soil to Supper project. This is a 5-year USDA-funded Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodity project. So it goes between 2023 and 2028. And we're helping producers deploy or produce their own organic amendments. So if you're interested in biochar or compost, we can help provide technical assistance for that. We also help fund initiatives like this through having producers have marketing support and training, also business planning and grazing planning. So if you're interested in any technical assistance around any of those pieces, feel free to pop onto our website. I'll put it in the chat and you can learn more there. And I'll pass it back to Aubrey.
Great. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Taylor. All right, we're going to dive in. I want to start real quick, though. I'm going to launch just one more poll. In the last few sessions, we've covered a lot of topics. And I know that marketing is a massive topic and something that we could probably spend a year just going over all the various parts of it. Last week, we covered social media. I know that that's also a big topic. And so I'm just going to launch a poll here to see what are some topics that you all would still like us to address? What are some questions that you have remaining? So this is going to be a fill in the blank, but feel free to just drop any last questions, topics, things that you wish that we would cover. Even if we can't cover it here today, it helps inform what we're able to offer you all in the future. So if you have a moment, feel free to drop that in here. And with that, we're going to go ahead and dive right into this juicy topic of connecting your marketing to sales. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to our inimitable executive director, Michele Thorne.
Hi, everybody. Thanks again for joining us for the series. We're so thrilled to be doing this work and even more thrilled that you have shown up every 2 weeks to be at these sessions. So thank you for your time and your attention and your participation. And as you're answering that poll, last week, as Aubrey said, we were talking with Mia about social media and newsletter marketing. And before that, we talked with Craig about your branding and marketing plan. And this week, we're talking about how to build a sales funnel that connects your marketing to sales initiatives. So I'm curious if we're done with the poll, um, if you can put in the chat what you know about sales funnels. Does anyone have anything that they think a sales funnel is? What they maybe they don't know what a sales funnel is. Just take a few minutes to do that before I put the next slide up. No, nothing? Or you can unmute yourself. Oh, great. Never even heard of a sales funnel. Thank you, Taylor. Perfect. Great. Then we've got some things to talk about today. So a sales funnel is a formula. That's basically what it is, in short, right? We're going to get into the details of what it actually is, but it's representative of the customer journey, right? From the early stage brand discovery to generating product interest to making your initial sales pitch to purchase, like for people to purchase from you, and then all the way to repeat sales and loyalty. It's a strategic pathway for customers designed by you and based on your sales goals, which you should have defined in the second session, using your online and offline marketing tools. So it's not just for online or digital execution. You can certainly use these same principles in person or with offline strategies. So this process benefits people on the internet or in the crowd so that they can discover your brand and products in a methodical and strategic way. And second, it benefits you because you control the customer journey as well as your communications with your buyers, prospects, subscribers. So in this session, you'll learn how these two things come together. But first, we want to level the playing field, right? If you've never heard of a sales funnel or you're not familiar with some of the vocabulary, I want to just make sure that we're speaking the same language and that we understand each other when we're going through this session. So, some of the terms, we'll do a couple of slides. These are some of the most common terms that we'll use when we're talking about sales funnels and marketing kind of in general, but online versus offline. So that's basically a digital versus a physical, right? On the internet versus in person. And it's how you engage with, sell to, communicate with prospects and customers, whether it's on the internet or in person. So online is obviously on the internet, offline is in person. You can do one or the other or both simultaneously, and what you choose will depend on your strategy, your goals, and your budget. Traffic. So traffic equals people. And that's people who are searching for what you have. Traffic can be people physically walking by your booth at the farmer's market or at an event. Um, it could be people on the internet who are just searching for a similar product. And the goal is with traffic is you're always trying to lure them into your house, right? Whether it's on the internet, to your store, or to your booth at the farmer's market with relevant and valuable content or areas of interest, right? That is on brand and provides some value to the people who are standing in front of you or looking at your website. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. A lot of you know, when you get a lot of traffic, and we'll talk about this over and over and over again, um, traffic, there could be some of your target customers in that traffic. Like traffic is this very broad term of just people, right? But then there's when you kind of narrow that down to your target audience, which we talked about in the first and second session, really understanding and identifying your target audience. You'll hear me talk about pain points a little bit in this session, which we kind of talked about in session 2. And I just want to remind you that pain points are problems or frustrations, objections that your target audience has, which may or may not be clear or apparent to you upon meeting them, but these are real things that they want to fix, overcome, or invest in that make their lives easier or more pleasurable. So put that in the parking lot. A lead capture form is an online version of a place where visitors give you their email address and sometimes their name, right, into a form on your website. You've seen these before. Sometimes they're pop-ups, maybe they're in the footer, maybe in the sidebar, whatever. But these are forms that are very simple. Sometimes there's some reason that people express on their forms, like an incentive or a promise or something that people want to give to the person who's putting their email in. But it's also linked to your CRM. An offline version of of a lead capture form could be just a sign sheet, right? Where you're capturing people's email addresses, their names, or their phone numbers. So there's that. A campaign is a long or short-term marketing approach to promoting a product or service to a very specific target audience that accomplishes a distinct and clearly defined goal. We talked about campaigns in session 2, right? Thinking about your annual planning calendar, thinking about, well, which campaign, which, thing am I going to do at this time of year? So that's basically a campaign, and that can also be facilitated online or offline. There's a few more terms. So a prospect is someone who shows interest in your products or service, right? It could be someone on the internet, someone in a crowd, but it's a person that kind of fits into your target audience. And this is what makes them different from just traffic, right? They've shown some kind of interest in your product or you or your brand. The offline equivalent of that might be um, someone walking by your farmer's market table or stand, and they stop and they look and they show a little bit of interest. Online, maybe they like a post of yours, or maybe they have opened your email but they haven't made a purchase from you, right? So that's a prospect. An autoresponder, or CRM, is a customer relationship manager. It's a third-party service that automates and helps deliver communications to your subscribers, either during onboarding, right, during a sales like campaign, or during a re-engagement cycle. And this is just a tool that you can use to automate engagement. I think one of the things that we hear a lot from producers is, oh my gosh, I don't have time to do all of this stuff. But automation is a great way to ensure that you can continue to build the relationship with not just your prospects, but also your customers. The offline equivalent of this might be a mailer or a postcard or a flyer. Um, that you have and you give away whenever you're in front of your target audience. A conversion is a metric of change in status. So maybe is taking someone from being a prospect to becoming a customer. And it's a result of a transaction, whether money's involved or not. So, for example, you might be running an ad, or maybe you have a number of subscribers on your Instagram, and one of those, sorry, not subscribers on your, a follower on your Instagram, and one of those followers signs up for your email list on your website. That's a conversion because you've changed their status from just someone, some random person of interest, like who's interested in your business, to actually someone who wants to know more, right? When you change that prospect who subscribed on your email list to a buyer, that's another type of conversion. And I'll give you just a kind of a number. So stick with me here with the numbers. So think about like how conversions work. So for example, maybe you run an ad on your YouTube channel, which you might get 10,000 impressions, but only 1,000 people, so 10% watch your video. And then 10% of that 10% click the ad, and then 1 to 3% of that 10% actually buy something from you. So following the math, that's 1 to 3 conversions out of 10,000 impressions or 1,000 people who watched your video into 1 to 2 or maybe 3 new customers. That is the standard. And these numbers, though they can vary depending on how well you execute your ad, and what kind of infrastructure you have that supports your ad, which is your sales funnel, right? Which we're going to talk about. This informs you as you're marketing your business about your customer acquisition costs. I don't want to get into the weeds on that, but that's a really important number for you to understand along the way, especially if you ever get into advertising, like paid advertising. That's just something to be mindful of. And then lastly, there's a launch. When you have a sales funnel, you are opening your cart and closing your cart. And those are just kind of internet marketing terms. And the launch refers to a sales cycle that begins when you open the cart, meaning you've done kind of all the pre-launch stuff. You've created the buzz, you've shared some content, you've gotten people really excited about what you have to offer. And then when you close the cart, that is when the promotion comes to an end. And what that does to the psychology of the prospect is it creates a sense of urgency. So the last thing that I want to say is that a subscriber who might be part of your target audience doesn't mean that that person will become a customer. It just means that they're a prospect, a lead, right? But if someone's subscribed to your email list, it's likely that they have some level of interest in what you have to offer. I'm going to go through a couple more slides. I know that was a lot of information, but there's a couple more slides before I stop talking and we get to questions. So I want to just kind of explain how a sales funnel can change your business. And it's really just a perspective change, right? Whether you call it a sales funnel or not, like you can call it whatever you want, but the concept remains the same, right? A sales funnel can help you accomplish those sales goals efficiently and effectively. When you set those sales goals that you set in session number 2, whatever your homework was, to map out your planner, you have to start with your sales goals, your SMART goals, right? This is so important because it relinquishes you from flying by the seat of your pants or doing any hope marketing, like putting things in place and hoping that it works, hoping that you get a sale. That is wasteful, of your time and your resources, and a sales funnel takes thoughtful planning and execution. It helps you really, excuse me, zero in on what your customers really want. And if done correctly, a sales funnel will help you really understand what your customers want from you so that when you have those products that they want, you can sell them, and you can sell a lot of them on demand. A sales funnel helps you grow your email list as an asset. It gives you the opportunity to gather data about the people who are interested in your products. Um, an email list is your online business's most valuable asset, full stop. Email marketing is still very effective, but if you don't have anyone on your list, you can't really leverage that asset. And there was a study by McKinsey and Company that found that email is nearly 40 times more effective at acquiring new customers than Facebook and Twitter combined. Take that for what you will, but people still check their emails. So there's that. A sales funnel that's built correctly gives you an on-demand sales strategy that works congruently with your marketing plan. It's a part of the infrastructure that helps execute your sales goals. For example, if you want to sell, say, some of your ground meat overages, you can quickly set up a campaign around that goal, share it with your email subscribers to help move inventory, or pre-sell tickets to an event or whatever, and you can use it in perpetuity. Once you do it and you see it work in practice and you've had some success at it, you can optimize it forever. And lastly, using a sales funnel can be easily integrated into any upcoming campaign or trade promotion. So, for example, for those of you who are familiar with our local meat, local flavor trade promotion, or our Real Burger of Earth Day promotion, which is coming up this April, having a sales funnel in place can really help optimize your impact with your sales, and you're leveraging just a promotion that's already done by somebody else like us. So now you know how a sales funnel can change your business. Let's level up the benefits. So, sales funnels should embody your brand and your brand voice. But more importantly, sales funnels are where the rubber meets the road. So if you haven't done all or even skipped over some of the previous steps in this series, you can't really have the expectation that your sales funnel will convert your prospects to customers right away, right? Many of the benefits, though, of having a sales funnel are that you can get increased engagement. Customers want to feel valued, and sales funnels and the content within those sales funnels and the content that you use to drive customers through the customer journey can step up your engagement game. It doesn't mean necessarily more, it just means better, effective engagement and interactions with your target audience. Um, another benefit is that you can reach new customers with sales funnels. You can parse out content that maybe you've already created. You can use content that's been created for you, like many of the assets that the Good Meat Project has already created that are free for you to use. Using those to target customers and validate your business with some social proof. That's a great way to reach new customers, people that may or may not be familiar with your brand, but maybe are friends with friends of people who are following you on social media, or people at farmers markets that are just kind of walking by at a neighboring um, table. They look over, they glance at you, right? You may be able to attract people with a sales funnel. And it'll give you the opportunity to customize your sales journey. These are highly customizable. Sales funnels are highly customizable during the buying journey. And we'll do that and talk about that in the part of this session where we talk about segmentation. That's really important. But it can be very impactful. So just know that sales funnels can give you immense control over the sales journey and the customer experience. You can get a lot of customer intel and feedback from a sales funnel because you can engage your audience and ask them to tell you things about themselves. You can ask them for direct feedback about something you've sent to them or something you've shared with them or your product. Keep in mind, though, this is a process that takes time to implement and also refine. Sales funnels can also be competitive or collaborative. They can be both, depending on what your goals are. Um, for example, you might be selling your product at a local market. You could collaborate with that market to combine products in a bundle or a special offer and then share your customer base. That's just one example of how it can be collaborative. And it can be competitive. Obviously, you're competing with other producers or other similar products in your market, right? In your niche market, which is meat. Specifically, we can talk about like sub niches and things like that, but um, you can really stand out by having a well thought out and effective sales funnel. And lastly, sales funnels are evergreen. They can stand alone and operate while you sleep over time. All you might have to do with an evergreen sales funnel is direct traffic to it whenever you want to generate sales for a specific product or a specific offer that you know is unique to your brand. And we'll talk about that in this session a little bit. Lastly, you'll need a few tools for building a sales funnel. Obviously, you need to start with a SMART goal for both online and offline applications. You either need a physical location like a farm stand or a farmer's market table, a store, a pop-up, or you'll need a website, which you'll need your URL, your hosting, which you probably already have, or you can use both. You'll need a specific sales promotion from that marketing plan that you did in session 2. You'll need some kind of sales information or sales page with a lead capture form or a sign-up sheet. And you'll need to have integrated your autoresponder. You'll need to use your content planners, that you've become familiar with in this series, like your email marketing and your social media planners, that you can create and plan content that generates traffic that you can direct to your offer, to your campaign, to your product that you're trying to sell. And you can do that very strategically. So you're not just like thinking, ooh, what do I need to say now to like get people fired up to buy the things that I have for sale this week? It's a way to be very strategic about how you lead customers on this journey that you get to create for them. And finally, you'll need an autoresponder, something like MailChimp or GetResponse. And these third-party tools help you automate, help you segment, help you deliver specific content that's only available if they give you something in return for that promise, right? Or you can use a traditional like mailing list, like a direct mail list. So before I go into the 5 stages of a sales funnel, I want to break to see if there are any questions on anything that I've shared up until this point.
You can feel free to drop questions in the chat or take yourself off mute. We've got a nice. Kristen's raising her hand. Go
Michelle,
ahead.
are you going to talk more later about CRMs?
Not explicitly. What's your
Okay.
question about them? I mean, we will talk about like kind of the way CRMs can work with when you're facilitating a campaign and how people subscribe and then drop off and what you can do. But did you have a specific question about CRMs.
Yeah, I'm curious if you or anyone in the meeting uses a CRM platform that they find really user-friendly and effective. I'm searching right now, and I currently use Squarespace, but yeah, something maybe that's not super pricey too.
These are the good questions. That's a great question. So, the first thing I would say with CRMs is you have to figure out what features are most important to you as a business person and what is most important to like the effectiveness of how you're going to use the CRM. And when I say that, so my experience with CRMs, for example, I've worked with MailChimp, Get Response, Constant Contact, like Squarespace, all of the things, even the highly paid CRMs like Bonterra, Kajabi. So there's so many CRMs. So really it's about you thinking about what are the features of the CRM that are most important to you. When I started as a marketer and really got into online marketing, there were a handful, like the top 5, Get Response, MailChimp, Constant Contact, all of those. And I had to think about, well, what features were important to me? One of them was affordability. It needed to be affordable. I was a young entrepreneur. I didn't have a lot of money. I was starting a business. I was super excited, but I needed something to help automate the process, right? So affordability was really key. Deliverability is really key. In my opinion, that was important to me. What use is an autoresponder if your emails are going to end up in their spam folder? It, it's that's important to me. And I think important if you're going to put in the work to have an email list that is responsive, where people are engaged, where people are actually opening, you've got really good open rates. Like people, if it's in people's spam folder, then like it's not as effective, I think, as it could be. Of course, there is some like way around that in terms of how you communicate with your audience when you get them on your email list. If deliverability rates aren't really high for that CRM, you can like prep people for that. You can in the very first email that they get or when you ask them to sign up, you can say, just make sure you add our email list to your contact list so that, you know, our emails don't end up in your spam, box or whatever. So, I mean, there are certain things that you can do to increase deliverability, but you kind of want to start on the good foot with that. And lastly, I think with CRMs, the features that might be important to you are like your ability to segment your list. And most of them, almost all of them, have that ability to create segments, to create tags, and a lot of that user like usability on the back end from your perspective is going to be really important to your business and the customer journey. On the front end, meaning from the user's perspective, sure, you also want something that's really easy for them to like navigate when you send out an email communication, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's a just a thing you want to let them know because you've got some exciting news and you just want to send out an email. You want it to look like your brand. You want it to be easy for them to like open, navigate, scan, click through, and you want to be able to make and see those conversions. um, Hopefully that answers your questions. I could talk for a whole hour about CRMs, but to answer that specific question, that's how I would frame it, you know. Um, I can't tell you specifically what CRM to use because I don't know those answers for your business. That's really something that you'll have to think about in terms of what's affordable, You know, what's important to you? What features are important to you? You know, is it user friendly on the back end? Is it easy enough for you to like drag and drop and put URLs and hyperlinks into, you know, into it? All of those things, they play a significant role in what's important to you. So hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions before I keep going? That's funny. Can you see me looking for CRM on the internet? Consumer relationship management. I see something here from Art. Okay, good. That's some advice there. Okay, I'm going to keep going then if there's nothing else for now. So the 5 stages of a sales funnel is really detailed, and we go into great depth on the 5 stages of a sales funnel in our marketing fundamentals course for producers. If you haven't already gotten a link to it, you will get a link to it. So for the purposes of this session and in the interest of time, I'm just going to quickly share the 5 stages of a sales funnel just so that you're familiar with them. So these are the stages. First, you're creating awareness. You're building interest, right? The first stage is creating awareness. Then you're building interest to buy, you know, because you're preparing people to get to that stage where you want to open your cart, right? You want to, you know, make the sale. Then there's a retain customers stage, and then you're converting people into advocates. Now, each of these stages, but especially those first 3, the create awareness, build interest, and decision to buy, play a critical role in the effectiveness of your execution in a sales funnel. And we'll get into a little bit what this looks like. Again, I highly recommend that you watch the longer version of this series in the Marketing Fundamentals course for producers. But as you can see, this looks like a funnel, right? It's wide at the top, it's smaller at the bottom, and there's 2 reasons for that. One reason is the top is where you have the opportunity to have a lot of people who are curious about your product or business enter your funnel, right? It's just open. So a lot of people can come in, they can they've said yes to getting on your email list, or they've stopped by your booth, and that gives you a really important opportunity, that very first engagement with them, right? They've said yes to something, and now it's your job to deliver that thing. And along the way throughout the funnel, obviously there will become fewer and fewer and fewer people, which is what you want, right? It's better to have 100 responsive customers than 1,000 tire kickers, right? So when you think about your sales funnel, you're thinking literally in this kind of V-shaped upside down triangle. But at every stage, you're strategically engaging with people, ultimately getting them to the offer, which is stage 3. And then you can give them reasons to become returning customers and loyal advocates. So stage 1, this is the phase where your target customers are getting to know your brand. Stage 2 is you're building interest, right? I should also note that the time between stage 1 and stage 2 can be very short, or it could take weeks, could take months. It just depends on the type of campaign that you're using in your sales funnel. For example, it can take up to 7 to 8 interactions before someone actually takes an action, right? Stage 3 is where people make the decision to buy from you. This is where the rubber meets the road, and if you've done a sufficient job at mapping out those first 2 stages, you should ostensibly be able to convert a percentage of those people who are interested in your products and services into buyers. The 4th stage is where you retain customers. So you've made the sale. Now what? Now what do you do? right? Part of customer retention has to do with positioning and messaging that Craig discussed in the first session, right? It's how customers think about your business. Top of mind. How do you live rent free in your customer's mind? And lastly, in stage 5, your customers, now they're your customers, right? You've retained them. How happy are they with you? How fired up are they to become advocates for you and talk about your products to their friends and in their networks? And not all of your customers will be willing or want to do this, but some will, and you can and should leverage that. The most important thing to remember, I know maybe I say that a lot in this series, is to start with the end in mind. With a sales funnel, you want to look at what is your biggest offer. Is it time with you personally? Is that the thing that you're trying to get people to ultimately do? Is it someone purchasing a really large order from you? Is it someone attending an experience with you or a series of experiences? Is it something else? Regardless of what it is, this is the offer that you'll ultimately be leading customers to along the customer journey. So, in the interest of time, I want to skip over questions since I've already kind of answered some questions. But okay, so here's my here's my slide that I want to just talk about for a second. You see on your screen right now popcorn. And this analogy is really important to sales funnels. We've all made popcorn at least once in a pan. And for sure, you've noticed that all the kernels don't pop at the same time. Some pop right away, others never. Some just need the right temperature and maybe a little bit more time in the pan. This is how you can think about your prospects, right? Just full stop. Those first few kernels pop in the pan. Those you want to think of as your right now buyers. Somebody signs up for your email list, you send out an email, they click, they buy, boom, they are your right now buyers. You probably get some customers like that, and maybe that accounts for 5, maybe 10% of the people on your list, or just people that you are kind of in front of at any given time. Then there's those kernels that just jump right out of the pan. They're unpopped, and those are your never buyers. Those are the people who are never going to buy from you, and you want them out of the pan. You don't get them out of there. Don't waste your time on those people, on the never poppers, right? But the majority of your revenue, sometimes 60 to 7%, comes from the late poppers. Those are the ones that sizzle in the pan a little bit longer. They take their time popping, and those folks just need the right amount of heat and time to become great customers and great advocates. However, most people mismanage these people. The two biggest mistakes that people make is offer bombing and doing nothing. Offer bombing is when you send email after email or you post on IG asking for the sale. Like, did you know this? Oh, we've got this sale. We've got this package or this thing. And you're just bombarding them with information about the sale. You're really trying to push the sale, right? Not only are these not very effective strategies, but they often just piss people off, causing them to unsubscribe from your email list or turn away from your product or your brand completely. The second mistake is doing nothing. And what I mean by that is when someone is on your list and they get and open your email, but they do nothing. When one of those early poppers makes a purchase from you, if you don't do something, right, you're not making them feel like they're a really important customer. And it's really important to make people feel like they're valued. So the takeaway here is that you want to build a relationship with the 60 to 70% of your leads. I mean, you want to build a relationship with all of your customers. But if someone gets on your email list and they take the bait, right, where they've opened your email, you want to make it so good. You want to provide value to them, right? Um, One way to provide value is you start with really valuable content. But you got to know what your audience wants, and you won't know if you don't ask them. So an example of, say, something you might have available to them, which is an incentive, right? It doesn't necessarily have to always be a discount or a coupon or something like that. Sure, those can be effective, but it might be a freebie that you have. And I'm using the example here, maybe something from a bulk buying toolkit. The example is, all right, well, I've got bulk shares that I want to send. Maybe consumers want to know how much freezer space they're going to need. Well, luckily, the Good Meat Project has created a, a, a resource that you can use that you can actually send to them and use as an incentive that you can give away and say, listen, we've got these shares coming up in the spring, but if you've never purchased in bulk before, here's a really cool resource that you can use, and I'll give it away for you for free. Give it away to you for free. Just give me your email. It's a great way to start building that relationship with prospects. It also helps build trust with them because you're saying, hey, I've got something for you and it's really valuable. It's really going to help you understand this problem that you're having, right? Pain point. Um, and then you deliver it, and that helps build trust with them. So I'm going to really flow through some of this stuff. So, but I'm just trying to get us under time here. We can talk about this stuff in right after this presentation and in tomorrow's office hours. So when you have a sales funnel, there are things that you do, and then there's process, right? In the beginning of a sales funnel, you've got an incentive that creates awareness. Then you've got your product and your business information that builds interest. You've got your offer, right, where you ask for the sale. You follow up with people who've purchased from you so that you can retain them as customers. And then you can generate social proof and convert people into advocates. I saw a hand raised. Looks like, Brett, you've got your hand raised. You can unmute and ask your question.
Hi. I'm just curious. So this example that you're doing right now, where would this happen? Can I have an example? I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around where this would happen if these are not folks we already have funneled in to the extent where we're in some sort of a dialogue. Like your example of having the resource or giving away the resource in exchange for the email. Like where would that happen? On our web page or on social media or all of the above? Just trying to.
Great question.
Yeah, thanks.
Great question. That can happen in a number of places. And again, this ties back into your marketing strategy. When you started planning out your marketing strategy and your campaigns, and then you got to tactics, right? This is part of the tactics portion of marketing. So if you've got an email list with email subscribers already, right, there's no need to incentivize them to get on your list, right? However, you can still provide value to them by giving them freebies that help them understand whatever their pain points are. If you're using an incentive to attract new customers or people outside of your email list or that are not already on your email list, that can absolutely happen on social media. You can do a post that says, hey, how cool is this resource? Are you trying to figure this out? click the link in my link tree or whatever, the link in my bio, which takes them to this downloadable resource. However, there's a gateway, a gatekeeper, right? Which you want them to get on your email list. So you've got to use your CRM to create that form that says, hey, give me your name and your email address, and I'll send you this free thing. Now that person's on your email list and you can communicate with them in the next step. You can do it on your blog. You can do it on other people's blogs. You can do it in a flyer at the farmer's market. Have them sign up, say, hey, I've got this really cool thing. Maybe you've got a printed version of it on your stand and says, hey, look at this. This helps you solve a problem. If you're thinking about buying in bulk because it's this, it's that, and you talk about all the features and benefits of your product, that's how you might, those are just some ways that you might execute that if you're trying to attract people into your sales funnel. You can also do it with paid advertising, but that's a whole other like ball of wax. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I feel like I'm getting really into the weeds here, and we've got about 5 more minutes. So I'm going to just talk through this very quickly. This is just a look. I just want to show you how a sales funnel might look in practice. We know that the first step is creating awareness, right? So you have this incentive. And Brett, this kind of talks to an example of what I just explained, right? You've got this incentive that you know you have. It's like your little fun thing that you want to offer. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's a recipe, maybe it's a something. But you offer that incentive, you deliver that incentive, and it builds more interest in your brand and in your products or in like what you're doing. People might get a little bit more interested in that. But that's getting people onto your list. So they've entered your sales funnel. And in this build interest stage is when you are sending emails, you're sharing the features of your business and your product, you're sharing the benefits of your product, you're giving people product info, you're telling them your brand story, you're telling them your origin story, you're just kind of hitting them with information that you've already extracted from them that you know they want to know about you. That's why all those previous stages, when we talk about defining your avatar, figuring out who your target audience is, if you've done that well, this is where the execution of that is. Then you ask for the sale. You've already kind of created the buzz. They've opened your emails. They've clicked through the links. They've consumed some of your content. And then you're like, okay, today's the day. You know, buy this or reserve your share or come to this event. Then you deliver the offer. You give them what they asked for. You communicate with them. You retain them as a customer. You're doing follow-up outreach. You're really building a relationship with them and converting them into advocates. The one thing I want to just make sure that you know is that there are exit and entry points all along your sales funnel. So when you give that incentive, maybe they sign up for your list, right? And they consume that piece of information that you've given them. If we're still using the bulk buying toolkit example, right? How much freezer space do you need? They love that. And they're like, oh, that's amazing. And then the next email that you send them, they're like, nope, unsubscribe. I'm out. Or I didn't open it. I didn't open the email. That's an exit point, right? Where you may have to re-engage them in a different way, or you may have to appeal to a different problem that you've already identified that they have. The point here is that not everyone on your list has the same problems. That's where we talk about the power of segmentation. It's incredibly useful and it makes your sales funnel really effective because you've got people in big buckets. You've got prospects, people who've never made a sale, who've never bought anything from you, right? They're just hanging out. They want to know more about your business, more about you. They don't trust you yet. They don't have a relationship with you. You haven't really given them a reason to make a purchase from you. But when you do, then those people become a different segment. They're your buyers now. They are the people that have built up a little bit of trust with you. They like what they've heard. You've given them enough reasons and enough value to say, oh, yeah, I want to purchase from this brand and I like them and I'm going to keep doing that. And then you, from your buyers, you might have 3 different segments, right? You might have CSA members. You might have event guests. You might have bulk buyers. So the point of segmentation is to be able to speak the language, like really refine your messaging. If you are talking to all your buyers about buying in bulk, but there are only people on your buyers list who have attended an event, you don't know if your message is hitting, right? Maybe they unsubscribe. Maybe they don't even open the email or they don't click through to anything. So the benefit to having segments is that you can control some of the messaging in a much more strategic and intentional way. We've kind of talked about this, starting with the end goal in mind, right? Creating the pathway, develop your offer, creating the infrastructure, right, with your CRM, your website, all the pieces of content that you're going to share, and then launch. So these exercises we don't necessarily have time for in this session because we're right at time, but I do want to just talk about the right product and the right incentive. You want to be able to choose your product, that end product, right? If your end goal is to sell a quarter beef for $500 or sell a whole for $4,000 or whatever it is, right? You want to determine what that product is. You want to define some of the pain points that your target audience is facing, right? What problem are they trying to solve? Is it that they want, you know, a unique cut, right? Are they interested in interesting dinner options? Like, is it more sustainable for them? Like, these are the pain points that you might be identifying in your target audience. And you can talk about it in a way that resonates with them. Like, we've got unique cuts, so you'll have more interesting dinner options. Buying in bulk is more sustainable, so you'll have less waste. Buying in bulk is better because it's single source. You're not getting 5 cows in your or 15 cows in your ground. It builds the local economy, so it's better for everyone. Um, Maybe some benefits that are consumer focused are, you know, kind of tapping into the pain point of cost, right? Buying in bulk saves you money. Actually, it's cheaper per pound when you think about the average cost of steaks to ground. The average cost per pound for as much meat as they're going to get is 2 to 3 more times than they're going to pay buying in bulk. Maybe it's a nutrition pain point that they have, right? That buying your meat because it's grass-fed or whatever is just a better, healthier option. Maybe a pain point for a customer is that, supply chain breakdowns, that if you buy in bulk, you've got a full freezer and you'll always have food on your table. So it's really important to focus on the benefits, not always the features of your product. These are just some other kind of incentives like coupons, discounts, recipes, guide, tutorials. Maybe there's a bundle that you have that makes your offer unique. And this is an example of like a lead generation form, right? You've got a picture, you tell them what the incentive is, receive 10% for your online purchase. They give you their email, they click sign up, boom, your CRM triggers that first email that delivers that 10% coupon code immediately. It thanks them for signing up, and boom, you give them the code. All right, I've got to run through all of these things because I absolutely want to leave enough time for questions and answers. But I want to encourage you to use the tools that we've given to you in this series, all the planners, all of the tools that we have, just use them. If you're going to create content for the front end of your sales funnel, great. If you need content, we've got some content that you can use for that as well, depending on your business model and depending on what your goal is, what your products are. You absolutely want to create a compelling sales page. You never want to send anybody to your home page. Never ever do that when you are doing a focused sales campaign. You want to send someone direct to the sales page of what it is that you're trying to get them to buy. You absolutely want to automate your responses when actions are taken. If they sign up for your newsletter, they should get an email right away that says, thank you, here's the expectation, here's the thing that I promised you. Look out for an email. Add us to your contact list so it doesn't end up in your spam folder, right? Set the expectation right out the gate, because you know they're going to open their email because they want what you promised them. And use the checklists and guides through this process to set yourself up for success. So I'm going to end there. That was a lot.
Thank you, Michelle. That was amazing. I love getting to see it all visually laid out like that. So again, feel free if you have questions, you're welcome to drop them in the chat. We're also a nice sized group today, so you're welcome to take yourself off of mute and or raise your hand. Or as always, you can just flag us down and we'll get to everybody's questions.
And yes, popcorn is a very appropriate breakfast food. You're welcome.
Michelle, just to kick us off, we had a couple responses to the poll earlier that might be nice to address here. So one was a question: how do I communicate to my audience the worth of a value-added farm product in the face of inflation and rising input and operating costs? Top of mind for a lot of folks, I know.
That is a great question. But there's a lot to unpack in that, right? Because we've clearly, even in that statement, identified a couple of pain points. Read it again out loud for me.
Yeah, so whoops, let me grab it one more time. Here we go. So, how do I communicate to my audience the worth of a value-added farm product in the face of inflation and rising input and operating costs?
You I mean, you have to, so what I think you're inferring is that a value-added farm product that you spent time canning or drying, dehydrating, curing, whatever, is a higher price than what they might find as an alternative in the marketplace. Yes? Okay. So then you have to think about your target customer, right? Why does somebody want to buy a higher priced alternative to what they can find in the marketplace? What's their reason? In their mind, in the psychographics of a target customer, what causes somebody to do that? It's a handful of things, right? When you think about the psychology of your buyer, it's because maybe they want to support your business because they like you, you're their friend, you're in their community. Or maybe they like the cottage food industry. They love a good homemade thing, right? They really love that sentiment. They want products that are like that. Or they want simple ingredients. There's not a lot of preservatives and garbage in it, right? That is a pain point for people. Exploit that. Say, listen, look, I know you can find this thing. Just put it on the table. Look, I know you can find pickles at the grocery store. But here's why my pickles are better for you. Here's some benefits to my pickles. My pickles don't have X, Y, and Z in it. They don't have this ingredient, which has been proven to like exploit it. It's a messaging game, right? Maybe you can help explain to them why the cost is more, right? You're a small business. You have to buy things at retail price sometimes, right? So that's part of the cost. Or maybe the cost is that you put so much care into it. It's not mechanized, right? That your pickles are cut at angles because you're doing them by hand. It's not mechanized. You put a lot of care into the label. You put and it's worth it. It's not that they have to buy this value added product from you every week, but it's an indulgence. It's something really special. It's a gift that they can give to someone else if they don't want to buy it for themselves. Because oftentimes people will spend more money on someone else than they'll spend on themselves, right? Those are just some examples of framing and messaging around, how to communicate about your products in an environment where there's so much uncertainty, there's so much competition, there's inflation, the cost of good, we could talk about this for hours, but it's really focusing on the pain points that your target customer for that product has. When you can zero in on those, then your messaging fills in the blanks all by itself. That's why it's so important in that second session, when you're researching your target customer, you're thinking about what their pain points are. You're really trying to get in the head of your buyer. You're not your best customer ever. Like, don't get it twisted. You're not your customer. Your best customer is someone else. It is an amalgamation of all of your customers, but there are very specific things that are important to these people that you might have some crossover with, but you can't think about your customer journey through yourself and through your own self. You have to think about it through this avatar. What is bothering them? What is the problem they're trying to solve? How are you going to even find these people? It's because you're putting yourself in their shoes and starting to think about what's important to them. What is valuable to them? Hopefully that answers that question. But that's a great question. And I will just, full transparency, it's not easy to do this. It can be really difficult. And it does take time, but you have to start. Even if you just have a few things about your target customer that you really understand, that you know they want from you, start there. You'll build it out over time, but it's really critical to understand who your target customers are. And when you start segmenting, it becomes really visible to you what's important to each of those segments. You know that the people who are buying your value added products, your pickles, your jerky, whatever, your meat sticks, those people don't have the exact same concerns as the people who are buying in bulk from you. And it's really important when you get to that stage in your business and in your marketing that those messages to those two segments on your list are very customized. And you'll see how that transforms the responsiveness and how quickly you can make sales and how well you've communicated to those different segments of your list.
Yeah, and I know folks can see in the chat here, but Art had a great comment about kind of sharing that hardship with your customers and really leaning into to empathy and that both you and your customers will be feeling the pinch of inflation. Yeah. Michelle, I've got another one while folks are thinking. of kind of last burning questions for our final session here, which is, I know when I first learned about the sales funnel, which I had also never heard of when I started my farm business, my first thought was, oh, I've inherently been doing this. Like I didn't realize it, but I kind of have one. But now that I know what it's called, now I have to be deliberate about it. Can you talk a little bit about, like, is this something that we should be thinking about with every single product? Is it something that you should be doing maybe once a quarter for a big, push that you're trying to do for a product? Like, how do you kind of parse out there are infinite sales funnels that you could be doing at any one moment? Is it really just about kind of your priority in that one moment and that you focus on one or two sales funnels at a time?
I mean, I think you should have one sales funnel. And that sales funnel can hold all of your products and offers in it. If you're working with the end in mind, like where are you ultimately trying to get people? Are you trying to get them to pay you $100 an hour for your time because they want to see your farm and have a tour and talk to you because you're an expert at this thing or that thing? Is it that you want to sell out all of your whole shares at the end of a season? Is that your big product? And you know that that's like where you are ultimately trying to get your target customers. When you know where you're trying to get people, you can build the map. Like, what is that like crushing offer that you're trying to get? Of course, you can have more than one sales funnel. You can, but I I would advise like just starting with one, getting it going, making it efficient and effective. And then once you get the hand of it, yeah, you can build as many sales funnels as you want for whatever your products. But I think having one really effective and efficient sales funnel is great. It's great. And it's using these tools to leverage your efforts, right? You're using email and your newsletter to leverage movement in your sales funnel. It's not just a communication tool and say, hey, I've got this thing, or did you know about that? Or, oh, we're going to be over here next month. All of that is important. But when you're talking about a sales funnel and you're talking about like action, people taking action and doing something to get to the next rung on the sales funnel, you are creating the customer journey. So in that first phase where you're creating interest, right? Where you've got a couple of blog posts, maybe you've done some Instagram live videos, you've done some stories, you've got people, just random people on the internet, like liking your posts, whatever, but they're not your customer and they're not on your email list. They're just interested, right? All of that content development that you're doing, showing pictures of your farm, showing pictures of your meat, talking about who you are, who your business is, what your origin story is, what your brand story is, like you're doing all of that before you even get them on your email list. They're really just trying to understand, well, who is this person and what are they doing? Like, why should I be interested? So, but you're thinking about like all of that stuff because you know where you're trying to get them in the end, right? You're trying to get them to buy something from you. That's just the facts, like it or not. If you don't like how that's like that, if you want to stay in business, you need to be in the selling something and be making money and having a profit, right? If you're not doing that, then you're out of business. So if you know what you're trying to do and you know what your profit margin is on, say, shares, or maybe it's an event that you're trying to get people to at the end of the year, like a festival or something like that, and it's a high ticket thing, or it's a farm to table dinner, it's like $500 or whatever, and you know that that's like your biggest crushing offer. And you know at that thing, you've got this thing for sale, you've got like you've mapped it out, then you can walk it back at every stage in the funnel over a series of months, just building up to that. So you know that the first step in that funnel is finding out like or explaining something about farm to table events and how important they are for community, or maybe you've got a fun fact, or you've got a infographic, or you're going to do a live about, like, you know, farm to table events in your community, whatever it is. I'm just giving these examples because you are trying to connect your sales to your marketing, and a sales funnel can help you do that. If you know where Z is and you know where A is, then it's up to you to fill in the rest in between. You're building the customer journey. You're saying, okay, I know I want to get people here, right? I know I want to get people here. Okay, then there's 10 steps. Maybe there's 10, maybe there's 5, maybe there's 20. But in these parts of the sales funnel, before you ask for the sale, there's some things that you know you need to do and messaging that you need to create in order to get people excited about, oh my God, I cannot miss when she opens the cart to sell these tickets because I want to make sure I get one. That's the power of a sales funnel. It's on demand. If you've got a responsive list and you've built a relationship with the list, you've provided value up front. There's no secrets. You don't have any secrets. Like, everybody knows everything. This is 2025. The internet is real. Everybody knows everything at the drop of a hat. But you can, create ease for people by giving them valuable information up front and saying, look, I know we're all experiencing inflation and costs, like the pinch. Man, it's hard out here in these streets, in these beef streets. It's hard. Sorry, I'm so wired up on coffee right now. Let me just bring it down a notch. You you know, if we know where we're trying to get people to go, if you know that, and you've been very clear about defining that in the stages before you get to building the sales funnel, then you can walk it back and plot out the journey for your customer. First, saying when you meet them, if it's in person and you're at a farmer's market, and the first thing you want to do is be like, "Hi, I'm blah blah blah, and this is my farm. How are you? What 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 made you stop today? What was, like, get the intel." It's the same thing that you're doing in an online format. You send that, you got that incentive, that first email should be like, "Hey, how are you? Here's what I can promise you. Tell me a little bit about yourself." You never want to ask for the sale right out the gate. You'll turn people off. You want to build the relationship. Maybe they don't buy anything from you, or they don't sign up right now. They were on your Instagram live and you don't see them, but maybe they'll be back. And when they come back, your job is to give them enough value up front that appeals to them because you understand your target customer. And you can say, "Hey, look, I've got this really special thing for you. You might want to sign up for my newsletter because I'll give it to you." And then once they say yes to that, then you can start the journey. You can say, okay, they got this thing. Well, the next thing that makes sense, because I know where I'm taking them, the next thing that makes sense is to share some content. Maybe do a live, maybe do a blog post, maybe do a video, maybe, maybe. But it's up to you to plot that out based on where you're trying to get them to go.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, it could be 1 step, it could be 3 steps, it could be 5 steps, it could be as many steps as it takes to get them to take action.
Brett's got his hand raised. Brett, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi. I'm also hopped up on coffee. So
All right. Cheers.
So I'm
Love
gonna
that.
I'm gonna try and get this out. I didn't have let's see if I had a couple of things swimming around. One, I just want to say, you know, this experience, joining these Good Meat Project, this marketing series, you're modeling something that I haven't quite put my finger on, but I know is important to me. I don't feel like a mark, right, in this space, whereas I have definitely, you know, felt like a mark to other folks marketing support or business support, or, you know, and I don't want, and I've also felt like a mark from producers who are yeah, they're doing the offer bombing. I love the language that you give to to help me express what I don't want to do, right? And maybe because there's so much of it out there, I think that without naming those things that I want to be really careful of, um, I just get stuck to and not do anything, right? Because I don't want to be another one of those guys out in the space, out in the ether, right? Especially as a, you know, introduction to who we are, and, you know, like as a launch. So you've done that successfully with me. Like, my experience here is that, yeah, you've done what I want to do. So I'm still wrapping my head around that. I just wanted to name that. But
Thank you.
also,
We
yeah.
hope you leave that feedback in the survey.
Okay, we'll do. The other thing I want to say is that it's been a lot. Like, there's
Yeah.
I don't want to. I know, you know, it's a lot, and I'm one. You mentioned a checklist, and I tried to Google, you know, Good Meat Project checklist, and I found a whole lot of resources that are kind of on the customer engagement side, but from the producer developing, like from the on the producer side, I didn't find like a checklist, and maybe you referred to it, maybe you didn't, but
I can tell you exactly where it is.
oh, okay.
The checklist that I was referring to is in our marketing fundamentals course for
Okay,
producers.
perfect.
So if you sign up for that, you'll have access to all of the workbooks, all of the downloads, the templates, the checklists. In particular, in session 4, the sales funnel, you'll see some of the things that I've talked about here. It's a much longer session, but
Yeah,
there's also a checklist that is involved in them. Yeah.
perfect. I think yeah, I'm excited to dig into that, like, at my own pace.
Yeah.
That course. Yeah. So thanks so much. This has been really helpful as a starting point.
I am super excited to hear that, Brett. I really appreciate the feedback. I know that marketing can be a lot. It seems like, you know, marketing seems really simple to a lot of people. And I've seen a lot of businesses over time, over the 20 plus years that I've been in marketing, people just kind of glaze over it. Like, it's just this thing, it's this afterthought, and it's not, you know, as important as it is, even though it does seem simple, like, oh, I just need to have Instagram, or I need to have Facebook, or I need to have a website, or whatever. There is a method to the madness. There's a formula that works, and marketers have been using this formula time and time again. Part of that formula is what we've shared in this series, is being really intentional about marketing, because marketing takes time. Right? It takes time, it takes money. Why squander those resources by, like, just putting it together on the fly, or doing hope marketing? That's never made sense to me. It makes sense to be really intentional about what marketing you actually do. And a lot of feedback that we get at the Good Meat Project when we teach these classes is like, oh, it's just so much to do, or, you know, like, do I even need to have social media? The answer to that is no, full stop. You don't need to have social media. Does social media serve a function or a purpose? Depending on your strategy, absolutely. But it's important to understand your marketing strategy. It has to support your business. Like what kind of business are you running? What's your business model? How are you thinking about like your customer? Who is your customer? Are your customers even on social media? Right? Like if you've got social media, but your target customer is not on social media, like that's a fail. You're wasting your time. You want to go where your customers are ultimately. Like where is that target customer? And it doesn't mean that your target customer is like someone who's already bought from you. Like a target customer could be like, who are the customers that you want to be buying from you? Who are these people? Right? Because sometimes a target customer might just be a headache, someone who's just going to complain no matter what you do. They're going to be like, I want to return. I don't like your customer service. They're going to be really public about that and try and destroy your brand. And then you're in like reputation management territory, mitigating that. And that's a nightmare. You don't want to do that. So um, simple. Think simple, but get really clear about like the foundation that you're building. Who's your target customer? What is your business like unique selling proposition? Where is it that you're trying to get people to go on the customer journey? And then you can kind of fill in the blanks.
We are at time, but Art, I see your hand raised. If folks have just 1 or 2 more minutes, we could answer Art's question briefly, and then I'm going to share a few last resources and next steps before we sign off. So Art, go ahead and if you want to unmute yourself.
Hey everybody, I have a little cold. If I mute myself, it's because probably I'm having a coughing fit.
Oh, no.
But I think I have backgrounds in marketing and design, and I think what I've heard from this session is that marketing is a huge thing, right? And it takes a whole lot. It could take like a whole year to learn it. And from our guest Michele, she's been talking about there's lots of things she has been trying not to deep dive into a lot of stuff, and there's lots to cover. And I also get the impression that some people are just probably feeling overwhelmed. And that's all natural, right? Because it's a huge project. It's a job in itself. You take like a whole marketing person in your company to do this, right? And I think most of you are farmers, and that's what you do. You go out and you farm, right? You don't have time to do marketing stuff. But I think to just put things in perspective, I think it needs to start small and it builds like anything else.
Sure.
Your audience, trust is a thing that you need to build. You go to a farmer's market, you sell your product, you get the person's, like Facebook account or whatever, you share it and then they share it. It's not an overnight thing, and you can't just like immediately get 10,000 people like to like you or whatever, right? And it's a slow process of building trust and communication, and just focus on your brand and your product, and see how that serves your customer, and play up on the customers who trust you, and just rely on word of mouth, because it takes a lot of money. Like someone asked before, like, oh, which is the best CRM? It's a lot of money to subscribe monthly to these things. So I guess my final thought is just don't feel too overwhelmed, and just take it slow, and focus on your product and what you believe in, and what you do best.
For sure.
Thank you, Art. And thank you, Michele, for this wonderful culmination of our series here. I know we're just a bit over time, and I just had 2 last things that I want to make sure folks know before we hop off. One is we've mentioned the Marketing Fundamentals course for producers. I really encourage you to sign up for that. You'll see that the videos mimic what we've done here in this series. So this is essentially a live version of what we have on our Marketing Fundamentals course, but that course, it's also free. You can sign up right now and have full access to everything there. And it has, like Michele said, the checklist that we've been referencing. It has your content calendar, your social media marketing planning calendar. It also has bonus videos with Craig, with Michele. And so there's a workbook, a lot of other resources there to be able to build off of what we've been doing here that we just can't quite pack into 4 sessions. For those of you who are a part of the Quivira Soil to Supper or New Agrarian Manager Fellows, we have group office hours tomorrow. So please join us. That'll be with Michelle. We'll be able to dive deep into some of your more specific marketing questions and plans. So that'll be tomorrow, and I'll send out the reminder for that. And also for those of you in the Quivira cohorts who are beginning farmers and ranchers, so have started your farm business in less than the last 10 years. We will also be doing one-on-one office hours. We'll be offering those to the Quivira cohort. So that's one-on-one office hours that you can sign up for with our marketing experts to get some personalized help with your marketing. Craig is one of our consultants. Mia is also one of our consultants, and we have a number of other really amazing marketing consultants that you can get some one-on-one coaching with. For those of you who are not part of Quivira, don't worry, we've got more resources for you. Meredith has been dropping links in the chat to all of our marketing resources. We have trade promotions. We've got just a ton of resources for you. So we'll be sending that in the follow-up email. And lastly, I'm going to give an impassioned plea to fill out our survey. I know that this seems like a rote thing that happens at the end of everything these days, but we have really specific reasons that we are asking for your feedback. Number one is most marketing services are, of course, outside of the budget of a lot of farmers like us, and we offer these free of charge. The way that we're able to do that is through grant funding, and the way that we're able to convince people to give us those grants is from testimonials and feedback from people who've actually participated. So your short testimonial that takes you 30 seconds to write could get us the funding to make sure that we're able to offer this and expand on these resources in the future. So it really does make a big difference for you to fill out that survey. Even if you just scroll all the way to the end and fill out the testimonial part, it would make a big difference. And, you know, like Brett said, we're not offering these for ourselves. We're offering them for you. I'm also a farmer. I've been a part of workshops that honestly felt like a waste of time, and that is not what we are trying to do here. We know that your time is precious, and we want to make sure that we are giving you exactly what you need in these workshops. So if there was something that could have been more specific, more in depth, if there's anything that you think could have made this better for you, please give us that feedback, and we are going to make those changes. So it means a lot to us. The link is here in the chat, and I'll also send it in the follow-up email.
Yeah. And we're modeling what we've just told you to do, which is ask your audience, right? We want to know. Your honest feedback really, really matters to us, and really appreciate everybody's time over these weeks. Looking forward to office hours tomorrow. Hopefully we'll see a bunch of you there, and you can always reach out to us if you have questions that occur to you along the way, or if you need assistance or anything. And Meredith has put the email in the chat there. So
All right.
thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck and good luck out there. Good luck
Yeah.
with your marketing. Good luck with your businesses, and hope to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Good luck walking down your beef streets.
Yeah. Yeah, baby. I'll see you on them beef streets.
Good luck in the beef streets. Thanks, everybody.